It's an episode of Nadi Digital Economy in Malaysia. My name is Karamjit Singh and I'm from Digital News Asia. And with me is my colleague Dzof Azmi. We're going to do what we do every week and we're going to just jump right into it. This week it is actually a story. It's actually a Singapore-based company which is focusing on filling a US $300 billion financing, not funding, financing gap for micro and SMEs in Southeast Asia. I have asked them already who gave this number, but they use it in their material and their press release, which just came out yesterday, to announce that they have raised US $144 million in seed funding. At the same time, months earlier, they also raised 150 million in debt line from institutional investors, which means that financial institutions, this is across Europe, US, Asia, have given them a credit line of 150 million US dollars, which of course they're going to use to extend much needed loans to SMEs throughout the Southeast Asia region. Now there is a Funding Societies Malaysia also. The company was launched in 2015. The Malaysian operation started in 2017, and coincidentally, they just announced at the end of January that for Malaysia they have hit 1 billion ringgit in loans extended to SMEs here, right? Which is which is a large amount, and also tells you about the market size in this country. And I think those of you who follow the show regularly, you know that we have talked about Dropee before, raising money, and they are now also extending money to the mom and pop shops who are on their platform. We've spoken about Boost Business, right, which used to be called Aspirasi, also lending money. And this 300 billion US, right, is just it just smacks you in the face, right, saying, wow, the market opportunity. And of course, all these SMEs are not being targeted by banks. And hold on, Dzof, I know you're coming with our digital bank, how they play a role here. But all these, SMEs, the banks in this region, not just in Malaysia, are not able to lend money to these micro and SMEs because they don't meet the minimum financial threshold that their risk assessment, software says that, okay, this person has meet the minimum criteria. And that has presented a huge opportunity, not just to funding societies, right, but to many other companies in the region. And look, even Grab is also offering, loans ready to their drivers and to even to some merchants also. And you've got many other players like Carsome. I'm sure Carsome is already extending loans. They extend loans to you, but and I think they've already started extending loans to the second-hand car dealers who are on their platform. All designed to help you become closer to the customer so that the customer has formed a very tight interlinked relationship with you, where you can then start to upsell them with other things. Of course, insurance is not far away, right? So I'll just end with this thought and you can come in with some of your thoughts.
No, I mean, I think to be able to disburse R1 billion worth of loans, right, in a year,
not a year. It is not a year. It is since they started in Malaysia.
Oh, since they started.
In 2017.
Okay.
But look,
then forgive me. Then it's not as impressive as I thought. But still, I was looking. It's 17,000 deals at R1 billion. So that comes out to be about 60,000 ringgit per deal. So we're looking. I mean, you call them MSMEs. You're saying that they are very low income, but still, an average of 60,000 ringgit per deal is still quite significant amount of money for them. I would say it's not necessarily 500 here, 500 there. Some of them must be bigger deals than that. So then the question that it begs is, yes, we're doing these digital bank licenses next month. Yes, you have organizations.
I think Bank Negara didn't promise. They said, I think it's like they'll try their best effort. But that's just like your Unify line or your Maxis line, right? Your broadband
best effort. Is it like when we write deadlines for you? Best effort.
Always, man. Best effort.
You have organizations like funding societies that are loaning money out. We spoke last week of companies that do digitization projects, and as a it's almost like I don't really want to call it a side gig. It feels like it's a necessary component to say that we also help you with your finances.
Yeah, of course.
So as you invest in this stuff. My question is, do we really need these digital bank licenses? I mean, what gap does it fill? Because it feels that there's so many organizations out there that are trying to do financing for the underserved, right? So I like I said, I'm interested to know when they do pick the digital banks, what are the justifications? And of course, existing banks already have a license to do stuff. So in a way, they don't really need the digital banking license.
No, but they do, because I think there are regulations, there are rules in place that don't allow them to lend to a business if it has not met the minimum criteria. So, which is why they cannot. Obviously, if even if the $300 billion amount is wrong, and let's say it's half that, or let's say it's one third, $100 billion opportunity, a financing gap in the region among the SMEs, that's huge. That's 400 billion ringgit. Which bank doesn't want to get a piece of that? So it is wrong, but it's an easy target because banks are big, they're successful, right? All the banks are hopeless lah. They don't want to lend to this.
No, that's not what I mean.
I don't know, not you, but the vast majority of people will say, "Oh, banks are hopeless. They don't want to lend to SMEs because their hands are tied." I'm sure. So this digital banking, and of course, banks are also now becoming more nimble, and they're trying to lend to this because you are leaving money on the table, right? And which right-minded entrepreneur will leave money on the table? So and I think last week we mentioned that this is like the best time to be an SME in this region because you've got so many alternate lending sources, and then you've got the digital bank licenses which are flat and square going to be looking at this market, right? They're not going to go to the households in the T20 say, hey, we can lend you money faster for you for you to buy that Bulgari ring that your husband's credit card has been maxed out, right? We'll lend you money to buy, and then you get your husband to pay you years later. No, none of that. It is just targeting the same market. So it's a great time for these micro SMEs, to be in the space. And imagine this, by the way, a key point, funding society says that, although they've been disbursing, so much money, they said that they've actually managed to maintain a 3% default rate. So you started to lend more money, and your default rate has been maintained as before the pandemic. So in the last 2 years or so, they managed to keep the default rate at around 3%. And they credit they credit the experience and lessons they've learned over the past 2 years, because now SMEs, people who may not have wanted to borrow money from you are desperate. They come to you, right? You can do it quicker. So they've learned invaluable lessons, and these lessons have allowed them to better react and adjust their business model and also their risk underwriting. So their algorithm now is got much more experience, right? In deciding quickly, churning out, okay, out of these 50,000 applications, right? These 5,000 no-brainer, this 5,000 maybe we need to do a bit more due diligence, or this 5,000 is risky and maybe we charge them higher interest rate. So it's incredible. The opportunity is there, and I'm sure the licensees who are waiting, right, are just chomping at the bit, right, waiting for the license to be good, because articles like this get them stressed out. Hey, our competitors have raised so much money, they're targeting our market in Malaysia. I mean, come on, bank, you gotta get the license out fast, right, so that we can go and deliver better service.
All right. We should move on to the next story.
So talking about delivering better service, right? Kenanga obviously feels that you can use AI is the magic word for it. So Dzof, you take lead with this.
Well, no, because this is Kenanga. They've launched it with great fanfare, an AI, what they call an AI-driven robotic investment advisor. So Roboadvisor, right? There are many robo-advisors in the world. I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I think that this is the first, I guess, homegrown AI robo-advisor that I've seen in Malaysia, right? Which is not necessarily the same as someone who's doing investment using AI to guide their decision making. It's not the same as that. I'm
Yeah.
quite sure the banks in Malaysia are already using AI to do that kind of work. But what they are is they're licensed by the Securities Commission of Malaysia. They have two products, one called KDI Safe, which is the very sensible, less sexy version, which guarantees a 3% fixed interest rate. Another one called KDI Invest. And KDI Invest is really this thing of using US listed exchange traded funds, and you can sort of invest in them. And the smartness, or rather they claim that the AI comes in when they use AI to monitor the entire global market conditions, and then they will sort of like balance your portfolio depending on what happens on a day-to-day basis. So it sounds really good. They say that this thing can analyze thousands of data points each day, and I quote them, without the influence of human emotions. They make it sound like it's a bad thing, Karam.
I think, because you can be irrational, you can follow the herd, and the herd may have left 2 days ago. So you're left holding the manure, so to speak, if you follow the herd 2 days later. So that's why they are saying that, without human emotion, because then it's strictly based on the data, and what the market trends are telling you, which is fair, so that's a key point for them, and you should harp on it.
They do admit that their outlook is, their projections are fairly conservative. They hope to get between 50,000 and 75,000 new customers in the next 12 months. But I don't know. I mean, I'll be curious how many of these 50 to 75 anticipated customers sign up because they are a robo investment group, right? And how much because they think, oh, this sounds like a good thing to try out.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm sure many people want to try out. Hey, let's see how the robo, the AI, algorithm, or software does versus my 1 hour sitting at the kopitiam, right? Having cups of black coffee and you're having nice roti bakar, which you cannot match the experience. So, your Kenanga is not delivering roti bakar, right? Complimentary and teo cham or whatever, right? To all the, or kopi cham to all the customers. They should, I think they can get more signups then. There you go, marketing person at Kenanga. I just gave you a hot tip. Sorry,
we should move from,
not a tip, a suggestion.
From Roboadvisors, the next story is about the National Robotics Roadmap.
So before you do this, before you do this, I have not read this article. Dzof wants me to respond to it spontaneously. So I think he suspects I'm going to get very upset. Let's see if I can prove him wrong.
Why would I want to upset you on purpose? The Prime Minister of Malaysia, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, announced yesterday that Malaysia will develop a national robotics roadmap. According to our PM, this roadmap can help reduce dependence on foreign manpower and minimize outflow of foreign exchange. Full stop. The government is looking to increase robot usage from 55 units per 10,000 workers to 195 units per 10,000 workers. This is what IR4 was built for, Karam, to reduce our reliance on immigrant workers.
Right. So we could politely say that the current Prime Minister is 3 years behind time, because Industry Forward, which is a national policy, is designed to do that, in the manufacturing sector, especially, right? So of course you need a lot more robotics can be done in manufacturing. So, but again, as in all things in life, maybe better late than never, unless you are a bandwagon, stock investor, then that's a very bad idea.
I think, Karam, I must commend you on holding your thing because clearly your number one objective is to improve productivity as a whole.
Of course.
And secondly, your measure of success should not be the number of robots you've hired per worker. But the improvement in productivity that you've managed from. So your SMEs and MSMEs, in theory, can now compete at a much higher higher level, right? Compared to before.
No, but
there's not a single word of that.
No, I suspect it is definitely there. When they create the blueprint, definitely, right, productivity per worker will be a key metric to measure in how successful, the robotization, whatever, right, of Malaysian industry and businesses, it will be there. Just that at this level, at the press conference level, you just want to give him something he can latch on to and he can understand and he can then, share whether this is a live press conference or this just a press statement that went out. So
no, I don't deny that this was something that came out at press conference. I don't deny that there was a spin on the message to say this is good for Malaysia, because it then gets away from the question of what happens to all the Malaysians that don't have jobs now that robots have replaced them. It sort of sidesteps that.
Yeah. But also one more thing, sorry, Dzof, I don't know whether you're going to mention it, but he said that this was actually among the decisions at the meeting of the National Digital Economy and Fourth Industrial Revolution Council. Apparently, the council has only met for the first time now. I wish the council had met within the first 2 weeks of the year and not now. So this was actually, and the council has got some super smart people. So it's disappointing that this decision came up from there and only now, right? Because this should have been something that they would have handled last year. So really puzzled about. So it's not the Prime Minister woke up one day and said, hey, I think this is a great idea, make me look good and with it. But no, it actually came out from the National Digital Economy and 4IR Council. So disappointed there if anyone from the council is listening. And I would like to know why, and Dzof, why the decision on this was only made this year, not earlier.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it does feel like this should be old news, right?
Yeah, true. So, okay, let's maybe now move on to some hot news, which is that, and I think Lawyat and Astro Awani carried this, that our royal, right, they're not unroyal, they're not without royalty. The Royal Malaysian Customs has revealed that it's going to equip its officers with body cams. The decision was made actually in December. We did want to talk about it, but we did not. And now it has come out in the news again. And apparently the plan is to increase the integrity of the department, as well as to vindicate customs officers who are often accused of corruption. How interesting is that, right? And the body cams will come on in June, because obviously their vindication will only start in June. And obviously for those who are, naughty and like to get some financial incentives, they have another, they have this next 4 full months, right, to go and, make hay while the sun shines.
Yes. All I have to say is that many police departments in the world use body cams these days. It still doesn't stop, unfortunately, bad things from happening.
Right.
But maybe we should be a bit more generous and say at least it's a step forward.
True.
Yeah.
True. But also quickly, but the first phase is only 100 officers, especially those on duty at KLIA and border crossing. So I would have liked to have seen 1,000, right? First phase, not 100. So that is a pitiful amount.
And lastly, Karam, very quickly, we're not going to spend too much time on this, I hope. There's been a lot of 5G in Malaysian news this week after Ralph Marshall's commentary last week in his open letter. It started with Ong Kiang Ming sending an open letter, sort of taking Rob Marshall's answers and throwing them back at the network operators and asking them, so is there any truth in this? And then a lot of other people then responded to that. And just earlier today, news broke that the envoys of Australia, Japan, US, UK, and the European Union had sent a letter to the Ministry of Finance saying that they were really concerned that Malaysia might do a U-turn on this 5G rollout, right? So
amazing. Just very surprising. Yeah. The Japanese normally are very passive. So for them also to bring this up is interesting, because look, Malaysia is not going to do a U-turn on 5G. I think they're going to be, maybe they're afraid that the government will do U-turn on the 5G approach that the government is taking. So that's where all the brouhaha and the hoo-ha-ha is coming into the picture. And by the way, after we ran the Ong Kian Ming questions to the telcos, which By the way, they are not going to answer publicly. They may reach out to him for a one-to-one discussion to try to strengthen their very weak position, I think. DNA actually got a commentary from a telco analyst who is actually right now based in Tbilisi, the capital of the Republic of Georgia. It's with a T, S-I-B-I, Tbilisi. Okay, thank you very much, Dzof. So that's what it's called. And I was quite surprised. And then one of the tech entrepreneurs actually knows the person. This person was their mentor. So that gave me a bit of validation, because suddenly you get an email from nowhere, right? And you got to check and you got to see the LinkedIn profile. This guy is based in Republic of Georgia. Why is he interested in the news in Malaysia? But he claims to be a telco analyst, right? Global telco consultant. So the points he made were quite strong, and I would just say that they're very pro to the government's no single wholesale network approach. So I'll just leave it at that. I will only run it if he replies to me and we have reassurance that it's a legit person, and that he's not maybe being paid by DNB or parties who want this approach, right? And saying, hey, help us out here, right? So DNA want to make sure that we are not being used by any parties, because of course there is a war going on now, and it's a war in social media to win the hearts and minds of the rakyat, to say that this approach is good, keep it. This approach is not good, don't keep it. Let us, the telcos, don't trust us, the telcos. With that, anyway, we have to end this week's show. Again, we have gone way over 22 minutes. But it's always fun talking about these things and engaging with Dzof. And I only wish we could do this live, right, so that our listeners could also jump on board immediately and ask us questions.
It's not much longer. We'll be able to do this live within the year, surely, within the next 6 months, I would hope. Well, depending on how the numbers are.
How the numbers go, yeah. But anyway, with that, we will catch up with you again next weekend, right? Have a good week. Okay. Have a good week. Have a good weekend, first of all, if you're listening to this late on Sunday. Otherwise, have a productive week ahead.